and welcome to Watching Thrones, the show where we take last night's episode of Game of Thrones, distill it down into itty-bitty little parts, and record it for Gilly to come across later. I'm Michele Boyd, and I am joined by our half of a magnificent seven here. My usual Spencer Gilbert.
Hey there.
Hello, Roth Cornet.
Hey, by the end of this, we'll find out how many poops everybody had.
I'm
1,500 and counting.
I'm taking count right now. And then also joining us today, we have comic book writer Marc Andreyko.
I don't know what that in-joke means, but poop is funny. So.
You didn't even watch the episode, did you? You're just coming in blind.
Yeah, I'm just. It's like Trump's speechwriter. I have a earpiece going in, telling you what to say.
And we also have our lovely co-host Lon Harris over there on the couch checking social media for us. Hi, Lon.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
So if you want to join in the conversation, just use the hashtag WatchingThrones on Twitter, and Lon will yell out the ones that are the most insulting or the most funny. That'll be great.
Now I get the poop joke.
Yeah.
There you go.
I did it's Monday and I've just started my coffee. Forgive me.
This is water. I don't know what I'm doing right now.
It should be vodka.
I know, exactly. So we start out, our top story today is some kind of Snowicide Squad. I know. We're going with Snowicide Squad? I've seen a bunch of team names.
Mark came up with the best one.
Snow sleep till Brooklyn.
Snow Sleep Till Brooklyn.
till.
Dun-dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I've seen, Magnificent Seven. I've seen Snow Patrol, Snow Team 7, Snow Team 6. What else? I mean, Snow Dogs.
Snow Avengers Assemble.
Snow Avengers Assemble. I like it. The Expendables.
Icy wieners.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be the Ice Spendables?
Expendables. Oh, I like
there you
that.
go.
I like it. So we got Jon Snow, Tormund Giantsbane, Gendry. We'll get to that. Jorah Mormont, Thoros of Myr, Beric Dondarrion, and the Hound, all setting
your
out.
favorite characters ready to die.
Who's gonna
Solid
make it
beers
back?
tonight. Who's gonna make it back?
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Definitely not. Who do you think is gonna bite it?
Oh, so many. I mean, I feel like John's going to make it back for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right? Probably Jorah, because he's still got to deal with the mercenaries.
No, I think Jorah lives the opposite of a charmed life, and this is where he dies,
This is where he
cold and
dies.
alone. Yeah.
For me, okay, this is what I want to have happen. I want, because they presumably go up there to get a wight, correct?
Correct.
So what if?
Are they going to, bag it?
Plenty
Yeah,
of
What's the
I
plan?
don't
Are they
understand
putting it
the
in a
plan here
bag
at all.
and
It's really
It's gonna be like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
Where
he was a
half
zombie.
of them die except he's a zombie. They come across the wrong one first, and it's like Nathan Fillion and half uneaten face away.
Ted Danson's gonna show up.
Fantastic.
I mean,
No,
it's
Thoros of Myr looked like he was on death's door already in the prison. He's like, I'm sobering up. I got nothing to live for. He's dead. I think the Brotherhood's dead.
Cross him off of Arya's list at the same time. I want the Hound to die and then somehow get transported back to King's Landing to show Cersei, and we have an undead Clegane Bowl.
Oh,
So
that'd be
that is
interesting.
what I want.
So that the Hound dies, but maybe it's like Cold Hands, where he's not completely converted somehow.
Or-
the magic stops it.
I think
and
it's
then
a little
What
late
if the
in the game
Hound?
for that.
that
What if
too
somebody
late?
like the Hound dies and is brought back as a White Walker, and that's who they bring back?
Right.
They bring
Right.
back one of their own
That's
who was
what,
turned.
yeah,
That
that's
makes
what
sense.
that's what I think
That would
might
be
happen.
really cool.
If they
like
brought
he's
back a
dying
celebrity,
and
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's just some random zombie,
And
who
yes,
cares?
Roth?
I have a question for everyone. I mean, I think it's a good plan. Like, I understand.
It's not a good plan.
It's not a good plan.
Hang on.
We'll get to the plan
She
part.
has dragons fly and melt everybody.
In the sense that you can then convince people that this is happening, but I do not understand how they're going to transport it. Is it like Michonne's pets,
Yes.
where they cut out? But how do you stop this thing?
You
Is
know
what
what
I'm
would be
asking.
really
how do you
good?
control
At a
it?
distance.
You know what would be a really good way to transport it? A dragon. Just saying.
But what if it
Come
bites?
up there, grab
What
one.
if it gets
But then what
bitey?
if it?
Just scoop down in its claws and just grab one and fly off.
It's
like right
dumb.
there,
It's
done.
a dumb idea.
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Wilkin
that's-
designed Brand's wheelchair. Could he not design some elaborate,
some sort of-
What if you? Yeah.
White
What if you cut off the arms and legs of it and seal its mouth shut? It's still alive, right?
I just don't think. I mean, I don't know how far ahead we want to jump because, I don't think bringing one to King's Landing is going to
No,
do
let's
shit.
before we get down to Dragonstone and start talking about the plan. I mean, do you think the tension with the 7 Snow Mirai are going to really matter at all? Gendry's not very happy with the Brotherhood right now because they're the ones who sold him off to Melisandre. But
Well,
is that going to matter?
Well, let's also remember that. So everyone's talking about, guess who's back? Gendry's back. Why is
Gendry's
he?
back.
And he's clearly
Back
Hello,
again.
friend.
So clearly it was not just a hot by cameo, and he's got a role to
Yeah,
play.
I was shocked by that.
At least for the rest of the season.
So there's options. One, maybe he's going to be making weapons for them in this coming war. Maybe he's going to figure out or knows how to work with Valyrian steel. Or let's remember that he's with followers of the Lord of Light, and he's still got that magic king blood.
True.
Like, does Gendry become a sacrifice after all?
Interesting. But
I
look,
think all of that matters if he makes it back.
I don't think that he's endgame at all in terms of being a ruler, but do you?
Oh, I do. I love.
Oh, he's definitely safe.
the
He's
surprise.
I'm
definitely
liking
safe.
quasi-
Gendry
Christian
was the
Bale
best-
over
my
there.
favorite
I'm good
part of
with
that.
it.
Yeah, and I do think that the group will come together. Having an existential zombie threat will do that. Your petty grievances
Sure.
kind of fall back, and like the Suicide Squad came together.
Sure.
And they had Katana, they had Slipknot, the man who can climb anything. Like these are people who don't get along naturally, but they bound together to fight the Enchantress.
They did not have Slipknot for very long.
Oh,
Briefly.
man.
Yeah, who's the Slipknot here is the question.
Throw some mirrors. Well, no, yeah.
So
Who's
you
the
think after all
Slipknot?
this-
Who's the man who can climb anything?
I'm
in that
personally
group?
a little sad we don't have the Harley Quinn. I want Brienne in this group.
That would- the big
That's
woman.
The
So
big
does-
woman.
By the way,
So does Tormund.
Yeah.
She would have been useful.
Well, let's get down to Dragonstone and actually talk about this plan a little bit of Tyrion's. Which let me talk about that irony for a minute. Because in the books, just saying.
Yep.
Tyrion is still down in King's Landing because they've actually tried a version of this plan in the books. They took one of the Wights' hands that attacked
Right.
Jon and Alistair Thorne, brought it down to King's Landing to show everyone to be like, hey guys, the undead are walking. And Tyrion, being pissed at Alistair, just sort of kept him in a cell until the hand rotted away. So like Tyrion was the one laughing at this sort of plan to begin with. So it was interesting that he's the one to come up with it in the show.
Why is anyone listening to Tyrion at this point?
Right?
He's on his third strike at this point. He's given bad advice to Dany over and over again. And why is this like fakakta Rube Goldberg machine of a plan what everyone agrees to go with? It seems so unlikely that if they even manage to pull it off and not kill off all these important people and bring a wight back to Cersei, like she doesn't care. Cersei's got a zombie bodyguard. You think she cares about one more zombie in the world?
Yeah,
I think it
that's
reflects the current world situation. All these plans are insane. Everything is insane. The more complicated it is, there's got to be an end game. Tyrion's got to have an end game making all this complication stuff.
I mean, I certainly hope so, because this episode in particular just saw Tyrion's character as a clever guy go way downhill.
I miss drunk
Like,
Tyrion. I know
what
you're not supposed to
happened?
root for alcoholics to fall off the wagon, but I want him
That
to
was
go
like the
back to
last
drinking
time
and
that he
whoring.
was clever. I mean,
he's
you've
ever
got,
been on
you've
the
got this
wagon. He's
weird thing
drinking.
He's still drinking?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was
Oh.
drinking in
He
this
was
episode
drinking.
after
He was
in the unit.
they
They
burned
shared.
the two
Yeah.
See?
Tarleys.
He could control it.
Yeah. Well, just saying.
One
Like,
drink
I mean,
never hurt.
he comes up with this really weird plan to go kidnap a wight and bring it to Cersei, which I don't think she's going to care about either. He screws up Davos's plan to get away when they're at King's Landing. He has all this hand-wringing about burning the two Tarleys alive. Like, what else is Dany supposed to do? Like, Tyrion's character this episode, I'm just not happy.
Well, let me ask you a question. 2 questions for us
Please.
panelists and all viewing. Is there something to be said for desperate times and desperate measures? Like, Jon, for his part, is trying to get anyone to help with this, and no one will listen because they're so busy fighting each other. And he's just trying to get that to stop and do anything to make people listen to him and believe that this is happening. She probably won't care, but she certainly can't care before she believes that it's actually real.
I just think that everyone there has too much knowledge of Cersei at this point to know that she's crazy and she doesn't give a shit about any of them. So the desperate measures would be like, kill Daenerys and hijack a dragon. Like, desperate measures wouldn't be like, let's take a cross-country voyage, kidnap a thing, ride all the way back to the capital, hopefully talk her into it, mobilize the armies and ride all the way back. I know people move fast on this show now and they all have jetpacks, but it just seems like a huge waste of time.
Is it possible, and I don't know, I've never gotten this far in the books, is it possible that Cersei would have a deal with the Night King?
That was one of
Because she's
a
obviously
theory.
completely
that
insane
was
right
the
now.
theory that she would become a night queen, but I mean, first, are they sending ravens to
Yeah.
each other, and then what is the deal exactly? And I don't know. I mean, that is one of the going theories, that she would then become the night queen. I don't think so because she's pregnant.
But she's so smart.
If
She's so smart in addition to being crazy that she's got if she can hear that Tyrion got off a little boat and snuck in and know that and know the things she knew about Jaime, she's got to know that these things are real. Has heard stories stories.
No, I mean, I don't think any of them. It's just like if you told us over the last year, hey, there are zombies, they're really far away, but there really are zombies, we'd be like, okay.
Actually, I think personally, I just start shopping for a go bag. I mean, I'd be like, sure, no problem.
You're not necessarily going to buy into a thing that has been fictional for your entire reality, especially when you just have so many bigger fish to fry. And I don't know, but potentially having first, I just wonder how it mechanically works to get it there without rotting like the hand did, and just falling apart, or is it just a bone thing, or is it in a bag? How are they doing this?
So many questions.
What are the rules of the dead? If you dismember them, they rot, or will they eventually rot away? Like
that's the
real
thing. We
zombies?
just don't know. I mean, in theory, yeah. If you dismember them, they start to rot because once they separated the head from the rest of the body and they just took the hand down, the hand started to rot. I mean,
and then it
but
just stopped moving because it was severed from the body.
Right.
Eventually, it just stopped moving, so it just looked like a skeleton.
It just looked like a severed head. Well, it was twitching at the very beginning. It started twitching on its own. That's why they started exactly.
But the plan isn't to bring back a piece of one of the dead. It's
They're
going to
bring back the
an
whole
actually fully
thing.
functional dead person.
Even though they're all in a
sure.
giant pack, unless you can lure one away
Exactly.
with
like coyotes.
Which
Because John's going to
presumably,
dress up like a
sexy
female
dress
zombie.
up like a
Sexy
lady
white,
zombie.
yeah,
Bugs Bunny it.
which presumably, John knows that they're all moving in one giant army because if he's gotten this message from Bran that he knows, they're not exactly sending out scouts you can so easily kidnap. Like you hit one, you hit them all.
Why doesn't he have that flock just pick one of them up, by the beaks? Just fly one back over the
Bring
wall.
the eagles from Lord of the Rings and just
Do we know
grab
that
one.
what he's seeing is this? Here's other two questions. One, do we think it's possible at all that Daenerys has a betrayer in her midst? A, because she does keep consistently getting such bad advice, although it's mostly Tyrion who's giving it to her, so I don't think he's betraying her. But also, she's not getting the information from the little birds anymore because Cersei now has all the little birds. Like, there's a lot that puts her at a disadvantage for information, but that's leading to bad decisions, A. And then two, was Bran what he was seeing in the present or the past?
I feel like it was
Do we know
present.
that?
I felt
I
right. I
feel-
thought
Sure
they
wouldn't mess with us
presented
like
it in
that.
a way that read, it's
Exactly.
right now.
But that
This is-
doesn't mean
this
they're
is
not
happening
messing
now.
with us.
True, it is that's
But that-
absolutely a possibility.
That would be a
but
really cheap shot if they were messing with us, if this was something in the far future or in the far past. That would be really crappy, because the way it was presented in the context of the episode last night was, this is live from the front lines. And if they do a bait and switch, that's
Live
really
from
crappy.
Eastwatch.
Yeah, which is what makes this plan even dumber, because it seems that this is really imminent. There's not time to do this back and forth to get people ready for it. It seems like they're here right now.
Let's do this. What would you do if you're Jon Snow?
Kill Daenerys, ride the dragon up to the north.
There's nothing to make you think that you can ride the dragon.
Oh, come on, they were getting along great.
They were
They
in
had
that
the nice
small
bonding
moment,
moment.
which,
Yeah,
by the way, was one of
which
the
we'll
greater
get in.
moments.
Yeah.
The free Willy
But
moment.
there's
Oh yes.
No, I was kidding about that. I think he should go back to the north and fortify it as best he can, send ravens back, wait for them to come to him.
Well, that
Not-
seems just as foolish as what they're doing right now, because he doesn't have enough men. They need a big army to fight the dead. Going back and fortifying the north might be the noble thing to do, but that's noble sacrifice.
Look, there's no good
way they're
options
gonna
here.
win.
If only
I think you should go out to an island in the middle, somewhere in the tropical area,
Bear
just
Island.
Hang
by
out.
yourself.
If only there were some magical connection between him and Dany that would go towards incest threat level 10 and just have them be married and connect their kingdoms.
But they don't know that.
don't.
All I'm trying to point out is it is a bad plan. Any plan is a bad plan right now because
think
he's
so.
he's in seemingly a no-win situation. He can't get the help that he needs without proving that the threat is real. He needs to convince both of these queens to help him. Neither
Queens!
one.
Yes, queens!
Yes, queens.
Yes, queens. Yes, and they have to stop fighting long enough for them
All
to
right,
get
I've got
in
a plan.
on it.
Fly the dragons to King's Landing, roast Cersei alive, send the armies north.
And then
Okay, done.
Tyrion's telling her not to do that because then they won't have the kingdom.
Well, what did you think of the moment, like, after the whole fire roasting and ending another house, when Tyrion was having this wine-soaked moment with Varys and kind of talking with him about
He
that?
was really hand-wringing over not
Right?
very much. How is that different from just beheading someone?
How is it different from everything he's been involved with since
Right.
episode 1? Why are these two guys special?
what else could Dany have done? She gave them the choice. This wasn't being done out of anger or malice or anything like that. Like, she said, bend the knee or die. And I mean, even Tyrion's suggestion of maybe send him to the wall was just roundly shot down by Randall. But I mean, Dany might have entertained that at one point too.
Well, for all her flaws, she's definitely a consistent leader. When she makes a decision, she's like, "This is the decision. There are no debate here. You either do this or you do this," and she stands by it. And she's one of the few characters on the show that is that consistent with the rule. So actually, she wouldn't be a bad queen for the whole damn kingdom.
And by the way, this is also kind of exactly how Aegon the Conqueror took over the first time. Like his sister Rhaenys, and I apologize if I'm getting that wrong because it's right at, in the head of my brain. But she basically flew to the Eyrie and landed there and just said, "Hey, I'm here. I have a dragon. You don't. Bend the knee or die." And they're like, "Cool, we're good."
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty bloodless way
King
to do it.
Aegon.
If she had roasted everyone, that would have been cool. Because that would have been a shade of like, oh, the Mad Queen, she just loves roasting. But they were just really dipping their little pinky toe in the Mad Queen stuff. It just didn't justify Tyrion's reaction.
This is exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Taking
Okay.
care of the heads of house
That's
as
Uday-
proxies.
that-
You
those
don't.
are the
Uday
same
Crusade.
boys.
Yeah.
Okay, to counterpoint, I thought it was justified, and I thought that you're right. What she did from her perspective was completely rational. That she has to say what she does and do what she means. You know what it is,
Yep.
does. You understand what I'm saying because I cannot talk right now.
It's
You get the
Monday.
point. It's Monday. She has to be consistent because otherwise no one will trust her. No one will trust her word. When she says that she is going to liberate them, they won't trust that either. So she has to be consistent to her word. And also, these 2 lives mean that probably many more lives will be saved. But from Tyrion's perspective, the death of a father and a son led to the rebellion that took down her father, and he doesn't want people reminded of that. Him burning 2 people to death, the Starks, started that rebellion and the kidnapping. Not so
should
much
know his
kidnapping of the
history.
other Stark. But that's why
He knows Sam's still around. Like, this is not going to cause an outbreak. He knows the situation better
Well,
than that.
Sam is no longer the heir of the house, though, because he gave that up when he joined the Night's
Well,
Watch.
Jon
So
Snow
for all
did too,
intents of
like,
so Sam has to die and come back from the dead. That's what absolved Jon.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't care. I think, before actually totally leaving Dragonstone, I do want to talk about Jon's moment with Drogon. I mean, does this also confirm that Tyrion is a secret Targaryen too? Because he's the
Right.
only other one who's pet a dragon and, like, been cool with it.
I think it has to.
I don't want that.
No.
I think it has. I think it makes perfect sense. We were talking about this before the show because I'm not the most dedicated viewer of the show. I'm a casual enjoyer of it. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, they're definitely related because the smell of the blood, they know.
Right.
How awesome is it going to be when we see Jon Snow riding a dragon?
Oh, yeah, that'll be
fighting an
fun.
army of zombies. That's going to be like the best moment
That's
ever.
gonna be awesome. And I mean, I don't think you can dispute Jon, obviously Targaryen, but like the fact that the only other person we really see pet the dragons and the dragons were all right with it is
It's
Tyrion,
Tyrion,
is a problem for me. But I think the only reason we wouldn't actually see Tyrion as a secret Targaryen at this point is because there's been no mention of Aerys's liberties with Joanna, and that was the whole thing of he basically raped her when she brought.
But hasn't
Cersei and
Tywin thrown in
Jaime
some,
and-
like, you're not my son?
He has, but
illusions.
so what? I mean, that's
Maybe
just
they're literal.
It could be, but we've seen no corresponding evidence to that would point to any other birth really from
What?
Tyrion other than Tywin just being pissed off at him that he's a dwarf.
He did say things in a manner that indicated, I mean, first of all, he's been pissed off at him his whole life that he's a dwarf, but he was really willing to execute him knowing he was innocent. So that's pretty far. And he did say things that indicated that it might be literal. He might literally not be his son, but the dragons didn't react to him the way they did to Jon. They accepted him, they let him be there, but they did not react the way Drogon did to Jon, which was like, what up, homie? I mean, it did cat blinky eyes.
He did
He
cat
was
blinky
messed up
eyes.
with Daenerys to land right in front of him
you.
without knowing
It
that.
was kind of messed up. It was kind of
She
messed
really
up.
swooped in, like,
Yeah.
She got jealous. She got, wait a minute. And really, she named it Drogon the dragon?
Drogon.
Oh, she just went with the first choice, right?
yeah, let's see.
She's not the most creative person.
Drugan.
I still feel like it's going to be Bran. I feel like Bran is going to be
Bran's gonna be
warped
that
into
third
it.
head of the
And
dragon?
Nobody says it. We all assume that it has to be all 3 have to be Targaryens, but what if they don't?
I hope not. I don't know. I still kind of want it to be Tyrion to be the third dragon rider, but I don't want it to be because he's a Targaryen. I just think that he can have an affinity for dragons and just let that be it.
He can ride the one that Bran is warging into.
Well, they haven't established
Like a pony
that
ride.
no one but a Targaryen can establish any kind of rapport.
They
have
haven't.
they? No.
They have in the books.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
But
because
they-
at a time now they have said that dragons are very particular about who they choose to ride them. But
Right.
there were at least two mentions in I think A World of Ice and Fire where they were actual non-Targaryens riding the dragons.
Yeah,
Like
like,
we
dragons
haven't
were
seen
okay with it.
somebody like try to be gentle and still get attacked
It definitely not-
outright.
But the,
without
the show.
the dragons aren't like sandworms in Dune, though. They've established that the dragons have a particular person they like, right?
love that metaphor.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
yes.
just really picky.
But that does
about who
not
that is.
have to be a Targaryen. Although in the show,
But
who the heck
so
knows? They haven't established
if
anything.
Daenerys wanted someone to ride a dragon, and the dragons would listen to her, but that doesn't mean the dragons.
I don't think
Is that-
she could
I don't know
command.
if it's transferable.
I don't think she could command one of the dragons to allow that, but
Mm-hmm.
I think she looked, to me, not jealous, but very interested.
She looked totally turned on by it.
totally turned on by the
Yeah.
fact that Drogon was responding. Because it's like,
My baby likes my bae.
although this moment to me was one of my favorite of the night. Aren't they beautiful? That wasn't what I was thinking. No, yeah, definitely.
I mean, they're nice. Yeah,
they're
nice
very
dragons.
beautiful.
They're all
I
right.
really love these animals.
Yeah, they're super pretty.
They're good. We're good, right? Don't
Yeah.
kill me.
That was the Game of Thrones equivalent of, does this make my ass look big?
Beautiful dragon.
Beautiful dragon. It seems very significant to me that they reacted that he reacted that way to Jon. He didn't quite react that way to Tyrion, which I think is maybe telling us that maybe Tyrion isn't who we think he is in that regard.
Yeah.
Well, all I got to say is the dragon special effects. We live in an age where this is TV and we have this quality of effect. Those dragon effects were just as good as the Planet of the Apes effects. I was looking, when they did the cat eye thing that you
Yeah.
referenced, the nostrils and the textures. Hats off to the effects team on this, and hats off to HBO for spending the money, because that can't be cheap. But it looks, you don't ever once doubt that those dragons are physically in this show. It's
It was like
amazing.
Sean Connery Dragonheart level.
Fire Reign of Fire.
It was Patrick Stewart Dragonheart 4 direct to DVD.
I will take fewer direwolves if the budget for the dragons continues to be
I want
this
Arya.
cool.
I want
Arya with an
legion
army of direwolves. I want her to be the queen of the wolves,
know.
like
Yes.
Princess Mononoke.
Yes.
All right.
And when we get up to the north, I was happy they at least acknowledged that Ghost was like sitting there for some reason waiting, but all right, fine.
Arya's so tiny. Could she just straight up ride
Yes.
Nymeria?
Probably
Yes,
could.
with a pack
100%.
of wolves? Yes.
She
Do
probably
it.
could. Well, I mean, speaking of Arya, let's head up to Winterfell. Why not?
Okay.
So, Littlefinger effing around a lot. What do you think is his endgame here with her?
I wanted him to die, so this.
Just
I was
lurking.
proud of him.
He is like A-level lurker.
Yeah. He
You
lurked
were
the lurker.
proud of him.
Well, because he tricked the trickster. You thought that Arya had the upper hand, and that's a classic Littlefinger down but not out.
Yeah.
That said, I think that this was a moment where I felt like the plot was being put a little fast forward to drive a wedge between Arya and Sansa like so quickly. When even just last episode, like they seemed like they hugged it out. They were on pretty good terms. Then to revert right back into like, I don't trust you. You want power for yourself.
Yeah.
It seemed a little rushed.
For me, who watches the show not devotedly and infrequently, I bought that, even though I jam watched the last 3 episodes. I bought that because they haven't seen each other since, they haven't been in the same room since the first season. It's been 5 years, and they grew up in this world of political intrigue, and they've seen people betray. So she'd be like, oh my God, I'm glad you're alive. And then, but are you still the same person who I left 5 years ago? I bought it. I think it is accelerated, but I think there's truth to it.
It wasn't so much that I didn't buy that Arya might have that reaction. I just didn't think it was warranted at that point, because really all Sansa did was like, no guys, chill the fuck out. We have a king and he'll come back and it's okay. Like she didn't say anything to betray
but
Jon.
She didn't vehemently defend Jon either. She said, yeah, he's our leader, and I noticed this language because it would have irritated me too. He's doing what he thinks is best, not what is best. Jon's doing what needs to happen to save us all. This threat is dire. I believe him. He is our leader. He's going to save us.
Yeah,
and
it
he's
wasn't
doing
a
what he-
forceful
It was
endorsement.
not.
Okay.
That is not what she said at all. And I think Arya was absolutely correct. Like in Sansa's mind, she has a little worm running around there telling her that she should be queen, as she always has.
And also, Arya, these 5 seasons up till now, has had a rough life. She's had to be proactive. I get that her sister's playing this political game and being wishy-washy. She'd be like, no, let's go help him. let's go, because that's Arya's had to do that because she's been on her own for 5 years. She's not one to sit around and talk and have tea and crumpets. She's one to go fight, and I think that's going to be the way. That's going to definitely
But
increase.
like, can she read minds now? Because Sansa looked like, when Arya confronted her, Sansa looked like, she's like figured me out. She didn't fight back.
That's her sister. She knows her character. Sansa's always been like that. Sansa has improved greatly, but the last time she saw her, she was a power-hungry girl who did not care about her family as much as Arya would have wanted her to. They were complete opposites. They had massive tension in their relationship. It makes sense that they wouldn't trust each other. And if she's given a reason, and she's very close to Jon. She was very close to Jon. So if she's given a reason to go like, you aren't defending him strong. Sansa was right too, like beheading them was not the answer politically, but you aren't defending him enough. You're leaving room for doubt, you're leaving room for you, and you know it. And I think she was trying to get her to see that so that she wouldn't go down that path.
I do agree with you to a point. Sansa's original thing was she didn't want Jon to leave, but I also think there was genuine surprise when he left her the North, and I didn't really see, this is from last episode, but like I didn't really see any like secret joy or like, yes, this has been my plan all along. I think Sansa's very good at taking what she's given, in this case, care of Winterfell, and doing the most she can with it, and she's actually proving herself to be a competent leader and lady of Winterfell, but that's not going to make her queen in the North.
And also, too,
she's not a battle leader.
And also, too, exactly, Arya is filtering her reactions to what Sansa's doing through what she's experienced, all the betrayal, all the people she thought she could trust, that. So she's probably overreacting to a degree. Yeah. But once again, I believe it in the characters, and it makes sense for her to be like, everybody else has lied to me and tried to kill me and screw me, people I thought I could trust. So I'm going to be overly suspicious of you.
Totally.
So she's filling what Sansa doesn't say. Arya's filling it in, and she's filling it in with all her life experience.
Yeah.
So once again, like you said, with Sansa not saying Jon is doing this for us. By leaving blanks, she's allowing people to interpret her motives. She's setting herself up to be misunderstood.
Exactly, and by the way, shouldn't she be one of the loudest people advocating for the fact that they need to prepare for the coming war with the dead?
Sansa or Arya?
Sansa, if she's the one there in Jon's place, she needs to be telling them over and over and over again, all this other stuff is bull. It doesn't matter. We have an army of the dead coming. I believe in Jon. He tells me that's the truth. Bran is having these crazy visions. I don't know if I've talked to him lately, but it's a lot.
Bran's just plugged into a tree.
Where is Bran?
He's living in the werewood
he's
network.
Free range. Yeah,
They're
they
just
have him go graze in the lawn.
He's just in the werewood tree with like a bedpan next to him.
Yeah.
Like he never leaves that
leaves.
thing. Mark, when you brought that up about like Arya's thing being colored by her life experience too, like her last experience with Sansa, she probably still blames Sansa for a lot of the stuff that went wrong originally in the first season of the show. Like Ned's death, a lot of it can kind of be attributed to Sansa lying, and and then to get the scroll and that Littlefinger set up for her, like probably did cement that a little bit for her.
Let's talk about, in case people don't know.
Yes, Lon.
Well, before we move on,
please.
Twitter really wants you guys to discuss the actual contents of the note and what it said. There was a lot of
Twitter for that perfect segue.
A lack of clarity for some people about what the note was, where it came from, all that stuff.
Roth, I know you looked it up like I did, so. Immediately.
So this is the scroll that she was basically coerced, and go watch this scene again because it's really amazing how they're messing with her. So it's Littlefinger, Cersei, Varys is there. Varys,
you look so angry right now.
Varys is getting away with a lot of stuff, but they basically coerce her and manipulate her into writing to Robb and saying, "Hey, we have the exact quote, but it's essentially, hey, Robert's dead. Dad's been arrested for treason. He betrayed the crown. Come here, bend the knee, declare your allegiance to Joffrey. That's what you need to do.
My beloved Joffrey.
My beloved Joffrey." And then Robb opens it up and is like, what? He's like, treason? What? Did she really say this? And then Maester Luwin's like, that's the Queen's words. Don't even. And so not only does it not have the effect that they want, but then he immediately is like, I declare against them. I declare against them.
That is really interesting that it looks like they're gonna have two totally different reactions to this. Because obviously Robb and Luwin and Catelyn and everyone are like, oh, that's not Sansa. Like immediately.
But Arya may
believe that these were actually Sansa's true words.
Sorry.
That is, so that's going to be interesting. And as far as like tricking the trickster and Littlefinger, kind of planting that for her and knowing Arya is following him and Arya not knowing about Littlefinger, like, do you think there's any chance that Arya knows Littlefinger knows about her?
A triple cross.
Is there any chance of that, or are we not even there yet?
That could also explain why she is spying on him as herself, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. She knows Littlefinger will recognize her when she's hiding around corners watching him. Why doesn't she make herself look like random Winterfell extra number 2?
You think she's got a bag of faces
so that he
with
won't
her?
notice her?
Well, yeah, that could be distracting him with distracting him.
Right.
You know, that makes sense. And if
How
she
deep
does
do
that,
these Winterfell crypts go?
but if he does that, it's interesting that how Arya has learned all that on the fly. She hasn't been in the court to learn the way court intrigue goes. She's just learned to be trickstery out in the real world and real life versions of it. So that was really, and then it suddenly makes her, if that's her plan, she's suddenly my favorite character in the history of the show. Because that's like Shakespearean fuckery to
I
a
think
great
that's
level.
wishful
Totally.
thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's
It's a
really
possibility.
good point, Lon, because the truth is she did learn from the Faceless Men. She did learn how to spy and to how to wait and get the information she needed before she struck.
It's like
so,
the one thing we actually saw her practice a
Yeah,
lot.
If,
You know,
if
like-
she's showing up to make Littlefinger more cocky and more confident, like, oh, I see her, and she knows that, that's really that's intense. That's super smart.
yeah.
Why would she
Oh, I know
not-
she's got like Batman level.
She's going to be the only one
disappearing,
left
like,
standing
I
at the end of the
really
show.
hope it's
Yeah.
that. I
She's
hope
gonna be
it's
on the
that.
throne.
She's good with that.
I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing a conversation between Littlefinger and Sansa. And I kind of, again, I want them to be very careful with how they use her faces, but then her testing Sansa, and then eventually, if she passes the test, being like, "Wah!
Oh,
You passed the test."
the old
I mean,
Mission
I sort of-
Impossible 2
I hope
reveal.
not, because that's what I'm worried about. That she has that available to
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she already
still
did it with
don't-
the phrase, and
We still don't really know how it works either.
Yeah.
Like, does she have to kill someone to take their face, or
Seems like
does she
it.
have like a
Pretty mean
Does she have
not
a
to.
bag of faces just like chilling with her,
Yeah.
like next to her, just
she
dripping
must
blood?
have taken a couple spares.
You would think, right? It's just we just don't know. We just don't know enough
Bag of
about the magic.
faces.
I want a bag of faces.
I was just like, it'd be pretty. For some reason, I heard that as like, oh wow, that'd be really cruel if she just took their face without killing them.
Oh God!
Yeah.
It's that extra with like that.
Is it Rent-A-Face?
That
Yes.
Lady Catelyn, Ghost of Winterfell, walking around last episode. It just takes her face and just she's walking around with no face right now.
Nick Cage and Face Off.
And then Arya shows up with Lady Catelyn's face. There's your Lady Stoneheart right there.
Or more likely Leatherface with the violence level on this show.
Oh God. Oh, I don't know. I think we're gonna see some kind of confrontation with Arya and Sansa coming up, and Littlefinger just sowing chaos all over the place, like little baby dragons.
He's such the Nellie Olson of this show. You love him, but he's just such a. You just want to punch him in the face.
Constantly.
He's so good. He's such
Well,
a
I
good
like
actor.
him because I thought that he had been totally outmaneuvered this season, and it seemed like he
Right.
had nowhere to go. So
That was kinda
all right,
disappointing.
it's like this is his Hail Mary to split up the sisterhood of the traveling knives. And so good for him.
Of the traveling cat's paw dagger.
Yeah, he
I like
pulled
it.
it out.
That's funny. Well,
Seemingly,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's head down to King's Landing and a possible pregnancy.
Nah. What?
Do we think this is a possibility?
I mean, okay, so let's. First of all, if she is pregnant, then they're basically really tipping the hat that she's not going to make it through much longer because, according to the prophecy, she has 3 kids. They died. That's happened. So if she's pregnant, she's either going to miscarry or be dead, be killed while she's pregnant.
I don't. Once again, I don't know how far the books go. The way this looks to me is that Jamie's going to have to kill her because she's insane,
yeah.
and he's going to have to kill her knowing his child is in her belly, and that's going to be the choice he's going to have to make, to sacrifice yet another child for the greater good, and he'll actually turn out to be a redeemable character. Because watching the show infrequently, Cersei used to be super cool, but last night particularly, she's just nuts. She is terrifyingly nuts to me. I don't know what the read is for devoted viewers, but she's scary as hell. I'm more scared of her than I am of the Night King at this point.
All I can say is all the intelligence that seems to have leached out of Tyrion has just like transmitted over to Cersei through her armor somehow, because she has been really masterfully planning and scheming this season.
Little birds.
Yeah, little birds. I mean, is that all it takes? Like, you
Gotta
just
get
need
your
access
birds.
to the little birds?
Qyburn is definitely King's Landing MVP
Yeah.
of all
Oh, yeah.
time. Like having her, she wouldn't have been able to do half of the things she's done without his constant inventiveness and.
Although apparently that scorpion did nothing. Drogon
Yeah,
just
that's
flew
true.
down and flew away.
Shook
All right,
it
his
off.
shoulder's healed now.
But
No poison,
he's
nothing.
reverse engineering poisons. He's creating his own homemade zombies.
Got a spy network. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think the pregnancy is real. I think this is like, let's stay together for the kid kind of thing, because she can sense that Jaime's having not second thoughts about her, but he's kind of like hedging his bets and pulling away, and the fake pregnancy might be a way to solidify
What if it's
that.
a phantom pregnancy? What if she thinks she's pregnant?
What if it's a shadow baby pregnancy?
What if she's so insane that her body is telling her
Oh.
this, and she's just, because phantom pregnancies aren't uncommon, and if she's that nuts and that crazy and that committed to this, she could be convincing herself she's pregnant.
I love that. That's
That's
a great
a cool
idea.
idea.
That's
Because-
tragic, because that would be
yeah.
her last tether to humanity, having a baby.
Because she hasn't really had time to process her grief at all.
For
yet.
any of them.
For any of it. She's just kind of stuffed it down. So if she had that, the minute she realized that that's what she had done, that's when we see real Mad Queen. That's when she absolutely loses it, and it's a river of tears, and then followed by the... She gets killed by her little brother.
I don't know. I really kind of think... I love the idea that Jaime kills Cersei always, but
It has
that's
to-
thematically
it
that makes
has
sense.
to happen.
But there has been nothing. Like, no matter what Cersei has done, I mean, she blows up the Baelor Sept. She now has a baby. Like, everything Jaime's just seems cool with. Like, and this is time to
he
time
seemed
him
really-
to her even
that
more
look,
now.
That look when she hugged him and said,
Don't ever betray
me
me
again.
again.
And they went around on him. That look, there were tiny hairline fractures starting right there, because his look, that was the best acting he's done.
Yeah.
That silent acting, you're like, uh-oh.
Well, because the fact is, he didn't betray her. He took a meeting that he didn't
He was trying to
know
help
was going to
her.
happen, and then he immediately came and told her about it. So that's how crazy
I
that
think it was
was.
not killing Tyrion was the betrayal.
Well, fair.
That was
but
how I understood that.
But not immediately killing Tyrion.
Not just immediately just strangling him to death on the spot. I
But
guess.
if she knew
What-
about the meeting, she could have had Tyrion killed. She could have had people
Yeah,
there
she
kill
could have had
Tyrion.
Tyrion killed, and
was
not
it a
only
test
that-
for him
I
to
think
kill
it was a
Tyrion?
test
Yeah,
for Jaime.
I think so. I think
Absolutely.
in some
Lon,
way.
what is Twitter saying?
Twitter saying so much. At Jack D. Manheim makes an excellent point. Cersei is technically a widow. If Jaime were to kill her, she would likely wail. That is the name of Jaime's sword. It's the Widow's Wail.
Widow's Wail.
I thought that was a good point.
And we're back to, possibly Widow's Wail being Lightbringer, or Jaime being Lightbringer if he has to kill Cersei.
interesting.
Just saying.
I was going to add, what did you guys think of Qyburn and Cersei in that weird scene when Jaime walks into them together? Qyburn is saying, well, I could give you something, and Cersei's like, that's not necessary. But if she was pregnant...
I'm thinking he
think
was
that'd
talking
be-
about moon tea. Little bit, I could give you something. Like, you're
end
pregnant.
the
Do you want
pregnancy.
to be? Because
Yeah.
here's the thing.
But why would he...
It's an incest
Because
baby.
it's an incest
It's an
baby.
incest baby.
Oh.
I mean,
But
you
if
know,
she's
not
not-
Targaryen.
but she already has
she's
three.
proven that she doesn't give a fuck
She-
that
yeah.
King's Landing knows that she's sleeping with her brother, but King's
she-
Landing may not agree.
And all
And if
those
there's a
incest,
baby,
and all those incest kids have been poster
Actually, 2 out of 3
children
were
for
pretty-
not having
2 out of 3
incest
were
kids.
good.
oh, I like Tom
Yeah,
and
they were
Marcella.
And Jaime also says...
They all fell off the truck.
And
before
Jaime
they
also
got
says,
open.
we're like,
In a
who are
nice
you going
way.
to
That's
say...
right. The crazy went to Joffrey.
Yeah.
Jaime does say, who are you going to say is the father? So conceivably, they could pretend it's somebody else's baby.
But she's not married.
She's not
I
going
mean,
to.
But she said,
not
he
going
said,
to.
he said, who are we going to tell who's the father? And she said, you.
Yeah.
I think that here's the thing. Everybody's talking about Daenerys being the Mad Queen. She's acting incredibly rationally.
Cersei's
you
the
know,
Mad Queen.
like
Cersei's
the Mad
Cersei's
Queen.
nuts.
Cersei's the
Cersei's
Mad
acting
Queen.
nuts. She's like, I don't care. I'm gonna get pregnant by my brother. I'm not gonna get married. I'm gonna tell everybody that I'm pregnant by my brother. You can't stop me. I will blow you up with fire. Like
She's like a 14-year-old girl who
she's
got her phone taken
she's
away.
like, I can't win this. I can't win this war. I don't care. Then I'll die trying.
Yeah,
And
she's gonna die either way. She's a cornered animal right now.
And she even said that. She said, we either submit and die or we fight and die. She's not even thinking of winning
She
the
just
battle.
wants to bring as many people down with her, which is awesome.
I agree. At that point, I'm kind of like, why do we even need Cersei's armies? Like, why are we even bothering to really wait for Cersei to believe whether or not there's an undead army? Like, I kind of agree with Danny that, if Dany and her dragons and everybody heads up north, that Cersei will just kind of move in and take over, but so what?
I mean,
come
ostensibly
back
she
down and
controls,
take it
like-
over again.
But what about this? What about if they bring the zombie back and Cersei still doesn't believe it, and Jaime realizes that she's never going to command the armies, and that's why Jaime has to kill her to bring the armies to fight the army of the dead, because she will cause the death of everyone.
That's a really good
That'd be
idea
good, 'cause
because
that's what
I've been
Jaime had to do
racking
last
my
time
brain,
when he was-
about
That-
what's
That
it
gives
gonna
him
be.
motive, and that redeems him. That means he's going to put the
Yeah.
the good will of the many above the few.
Again.
Yeah.
Because there needs to be something that turns the tide there and gives him that redemptive arc to if you're gonna have it make any kind of thematic sense for him to kill Cersei. Like, what is it gonna
The
be?
fate of
it
the
wasn't
world.
blowing up King's
Yeah.
Landing, so I guess sacrificing the world on the altar of power, maybe.
But it's going to have to be pretty big for Jaime to do that. Because, listen, he was not in love with the Mad King. You know, he
Right.
still made a really big sacrifice and a huge choice, and he did it to save people. But this is the one person that, in the world of the show anyway, he has never wavered from ever. He has only done anything he's ever done for her, and that's never changed one time. So it would have to be so massive
Well, is it
of an
possible?
event for him to change.
Is it possible that Jaime and Cersei are the actual children of the Mad King? Is there any way that could possibly be something we haven't found
no,
out?
Lannisters.
no,
They're crazy.
definitely.
Crazy ass.
They are
Lannisters.
definitely
Crazy
Lannisters.
sprinkled around through the whole world.
Yeah.
Just like there was no possibility he would have drowned last week.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going to give
dumb.
him that death scene.
Even though
What is
Bronn
up with that lake?
Bronn dragged him underwater for like
Full
5
armor,
miles.
just bloop.
Sure,
Oh
why
my
not?
god! And where's
There-
the battle?
Yeah,
Where is
God.
everybody?
There is one moment here when Bronn brings him out in this whole thing with them after I got over the ridiculousness of it all that I did like, where my question last episode was, what the heck was Bronn's motivation? I was like, he left the gold and saved Jaime, why? And I'm like, oh, okay. It's because Jaime's the only one who's going to honor this agreement now to give him the castle and the lady. Okay, got it. Back on board with the sellsword.
Bronn has a feeling here and there. He does. I think you're right. It was probably ultimately self-motivated, but I think Bronn's got a little bit of a soft spot here and there.
Yeah.
For the Jamies and the Tyrions in particular.
But I do think it was a self-interested move
Sure.
at the end of the day.
Little
Like,
of both.
this guy owes me
Definitely.
money. I'm gonna let him off the hook.
The level of ulcers in this world, because no one ever says anything they're meaning. You have to second guess everything someone says. No wonder everyone's crazy. 'Cause you get tense watching the episode. No one ever says directly what they're thinking, whether they're poor, rich, king,
Granted,
dragon.
we're dealing with the nobility and the 1% here. Most of the people are like, oh, I'm a turnip farmer. Oh, that's a dragon.
I'm an onion knight. Or as Sir Davos says throughout the entire episode,
Yeah.
like, I'm not a lord. I'm not
just a smuggler, which means
I'm
I
just
can
a smuggler.
row
I'm not a
boat
fighter.
onto an empty
I'm
beach.
not a leader.
I feel like actually, so in this episode alone, like Sir Davos said some great lines. He was pretty straight talking, but also that moment with Gendry and
Yep,
Jon, where
let's
they're
get
both
to
like,
it.
"Hi, I'm Robert's bastard," and you like they can't help but say whatever they're thinking.
Sure.
So there are some people that are straightforward,
And
just
what was
not
great-
the ones with power.
And what was great about that moment was you realize how heavy this show is, because that moment between John and him was a laugh out loud moment. In the context of real comedy, that's not really funny, but this show is so tense and so dark that moment, you're like, some
Even Jon
lightness,
looked
some
really
lightness.
surprised. He's like, wait, humor?
What?
Huh? What?
Okay.
And how? Okay, Gendry. I
Yeah.
mean, I saw his name in the credits in the opening. I was like, oh, this is where he comes back. Okay, cool. So I was kind of prepared for it. But even then, when Davos rose into King's Landing and is like, I have some business in Flea Bottom, I didn't make that connection until he started walking through and seeing all the blacksmiths. How nice was it to see Gendry back?
He's great. He talk about an actor who makes the most of his lines. It's not about.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot.
He is so. I want him and Arya to be the ones that rule the rest of the world when all the show is
Yeah.
done, because he's such a. That face is great. He's such a good
Does
actor.
look like child Christian Bale.
Right?
Yeah, he really
And
does.
he kind of
Definitely
has,
Christian
has a
Bale.
little Jai
Wow.
Courtney in there
Yeah.
as well.
Mostly Bale, though.
I've seen a lot of Christian Bale. I missed the hair.
What was the movie that he did when he was a kid? It was Empire of the Sun.
When he was
Yes.
12, yeah.
Yeah. He does look like Kid Christian Bale.
I can see him.
I also think he's going to make weapons. He's going to make
Oh, he'll make
hilarious-
dragon glass
Yeah,
weapons
dragon
for sure.
glass
Yeah,
weapons.
if he makes it out of the north. But how? I
If he
mean,
lives.
okay, hang
Somebody
on.
on Twitter was also saying dragon armor. Could he conceivably make armor so the
Yes!
dragons are protected from
not?
He
scorpion
could
projectiles?
make dragon armor. Yeah,
Dragon
I mean,
hammers?
he could have just stayed
Yeah.
down in Dragonstone.
Dragon
with
armor
that.
that shoots hammers. And dragons.
Do the dragon shed?
The
What's that?
dragon,
Do the dragon shed?
Scales?
Yeah.
No, I think their
Because that
scales
would be
just
cool to
get
make scale
harder and
armor.
harder as
Ooh.
they age. I believe. I mean, I don't know, but as far as I understand, the scales they just have get
Dragons
harder
don't
and
molt.
harder with age.
Maybe,
I don't
yeah,
know.
but
they're
I mean,
giant
it could be just a
lizards, they
lizard,
shed
just a
their
giant
skin.
worm.
Yeah, it's
Why
seasonal
not?
though. Every
Okay,
summer.
the moments of fan service, because there were two big ones. Obviously, Davos's line about, I thought you might still be rowing.
Yeah.
And then Gendry's Warhammer.
Yeah.
Do we love them? Do we hate them?
I was distracted by I thought you would still be rowing because that was such a fan joke that I just didn't need it because he didn't think that. And
It got a laugh out of me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I thought that was fine. I think if it was just that, I would have been like, upset-ish, but that would have been what I expected, is just to give the fan service nod to Gendry fans. But to have him become like part of the main players was very unexpected to me, and I'm so excited for it. I think like to have a new sort of newcomer that we kind of knew, that's now like another bastard, and like the Robert Baratheon Ned Stark alliance of old, to have another Stark bastard, well, Targaryen Stark bastard and Baratheon bastard to join together was like, this is a cool new dynamic that's like played throughout the generations.
And I thought the hammer was cool.
And
I got my 12-year-old boy on. I was like, yeah, I want a hammer. What's this?
Oh my God.
That was great. That was such an awesome moment, because we've been hearing forever about how awesome a warrior Robert used to be, and his giant war hammer and coming down and cracking skulls, and we've never seen it.
And we need more characters like him on the show.
This now.
We need more characters who are like, enough talk, let's just do things.
smash some
Let's
heads.
get to
He
the
was
point.
just like, forget it.
I liked it. I like that a lot.
You know what? I realize that we've been nitpicking about the plans and whether they make sense so much. This was a really good episode, followed up by another really good episode. I've been pretty happy with this season. Spencer?
Sure, I don't
yes,
think
no?
that this was the strongest of the season. I think it,
No,
again,
last week.
it shuffled the pieces into place nicely. I just think overall they're putting him in place really quickly.
Well, I'll say this from an outside perspective. I watched the last 3 in a row, and it felt, if the last 3 were a movie, it felt really great. And this one, last night's episode, was a nice respite from everything that happened in the episode last week. It felt like I needed more people to talk, because there was so much going on physically 2 weeks ago, that this episode was like, oh, okay, good.
That's really interesting you say that, because I looked at it more like, yeah, dude, obviously, yes, okay, we get it. Okay, fine. They're all in the same place really, really quickly. But, like, did much happen? So it's interesting you say that
I
it
felt
was
like
kind
a
of...
lot happened. I
Yeah,
felt like there was
that's
a lot of
interesting you say it
internal
felt like a
happening.
break, versus me, I felt like this was the, like, let's run to the finish line before another battle sort of thing. And that wasn't as interesting to me. And as I've already said, everything with Tyrion I wasn't a huge fan of. And, like, the plan itself was weird to me. So... it's not my favorite episode. There were definitely moments that I liked. Roth, what do you think?
I don't know. I feel like they're adding in a lot of elements. The problem is, if Tyrion was the same Tyrion that he was during Blackwater, then truly there is no stopping them, right? I think that they are kind of manufacturing things to create a sense of tension, and like, we don't know how this will end up. Will Dany lose? Will they outsmart her? Will the Lannisters somehow prevail? Gendry's back in the picture. Maybe he, at the very end of the day, surprise, surprise, all of the people are dead except for him, and just by default, he lands on this throne and as a leader. I think there's a million things that they're doing to sort of mess with our expectations, because this is a book. These are books that have been around for a long time, and a show that's been around for 7 years now, and we could have figured it all out. And so I think that they are making some decisions to undermine those expectations, so that there's still a sense of tension in the show.
But for me, talking about Tyrion and that he's not as smart as he was earlier, or his plan doesn't seem right, for me it felt like this guy's got PTSD to a level we don't even know. He's been trying to basically be a good person in the context of his life, this whole show. So for me, his plan kind of fraying around the edges is maybe me projecting, but it's like metaphorical for his own mental state. He's just like, I've tried everything there is to do. Whatever now. Let's just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. It feels like his own desperation is maybe consuming him a little.
But nobody's above failing. I mean, no strategist is above getting into a situation, and right now he's strategizing against people that know him very well.
Yeah.
And they don't have all these spies, and they don't have all this information, and as we talked about with John, there is no good answer to how do you get people to pay attention and fight the war that actually counts, right? They're not listening. So at the end of the day, no one is above being in a situation that they cannot easily get out of. Tyrion, we're just used to it.
I get it. It's just sad to watch him lose his touch. Like, it makes sense from a character perspective, but, like, he was one of the favorite characters for a reason, is because everyone underestimated him, and he was always right, and now he's always wrong,
Right.
and he's not even funny
I
anymore.
miss cheering for Tyrion.
Yeah.
I miss it.
There's going to be a moment that's going to come back,
I would
and
hope
we're
so.
all going
I
to be so.
really,
It's
really
going
hope
to. It's
so.
going to
When
have.
he rides a dragon, that will be the
We
moment.
want to be able to have like a high chair, because you won't be able to be seen around the scales on
He
the
can
neck.
design a saddle. He's done this already for Bran. We can do that. And to be fair, like, just on a show note, kind of, showrunners don't have the books. They've got bullet points that they're going off of right now.
It seems like they're going off of bullet points.
Yeah, so I'm
do we
willing to
think
give
we're ever
them a
gonna see
decent
that
amount
final
of
book?
slack. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't
that's for
know.
another show.
I don't know. All right.
Here's
Well,
the thing, though. You talked about people always underestimating Tyrion, but the point is, what you're saying now is that we wouldn't have, but now we are again.
Now we are.
Right? So, like, they have to, if they just play into that again and again and again, that's not that interesting to watch. Is it really that interesting to expect Tyrion to have the smarter plan and then for him to have it every time this season?
Yes.
It's more interesting to watch him
Well, it's more
grapple
satisfying
with the
because we
idea
like
that
him.
he's failing and then find a way through that.
I want him to start winning again.
I think he
Make
will.
Tyrion great again.
But the difference is we want that to happen because we like him.
want
But in
that
the
hat.
context of the story, it makes sense that he would go through these ups and downs.
Yeah, no, completely. Lon, thoughts?
Twitter is going to explode if you guys don't talk about Gilly and Sam.
That was what I'm getting to.
They're-
that was my very
they're-
next thing. Because
Well,
what I wanted
that
to
doesn't matter. It's
No,
just
very upset.
Because what I want to mention,
That's
because
nothing.
this is the big thing before we start taking calls. Which oh gosh, what is the Skype? Someone tell me what the Skype actually is in order to come in and call
There
at
it
the
is,
end of the
SJ Thrones
show.
Live.
SJ Thrones Live. Thank you. Hi, I posted before, and we'll also try to have some trivia by combat at the end if we do. But before Old Town, just the biggest bomb of information gets completely sideswiped.
Which was so awesome because it's in the middle of counting shits.
Oh
and he's
my
so
God.
not interested and pissed and not listening to anything that she wants to say and is so annoyed and this massive bombshell just goes completely unnoticed. It was great.
This is the biggest
This is-
piece of information they could have possibly given us, and Sam does not even notice.
And we love Sam, but that was so human to just be like, I am so
I'm busy
fucking-
right now.
I'm busy right
And
now.
it
Can you
also
practice your reading somewhere else?
captures this really real thing. I mean, if you read about like when they're trying to prevent like terrorist attacks, and the problem isn't how do you get the information on what sort of terrorists or evildoers want to do. It's how do you pick that information out from the wall of information that you're getting, and that would be a real problem. Like he's got so many books and so many scrolls, he doesn't know which one has the clue that he needs.
And it just, I mean, to finally learn that not only Rhaegar and Lyanna married, but it legitimizes Jon and gives him a better
He
claim to
had-
the throne
than Dany.
than Dany.
So let's talk about what she said, just in case anybody didn't know.
Go for it.
You go for it.
Oh, no, you go for it.
You go for it, girl.
So essentially, Gilly's reading through the book, and she asks Sam what an annulment is, and he says it's when you set aside your wife, and she goes into a script saying that this not Maester, High Septon, annulled the marriage of Rhaegar and married him again on the same day in a secret marriage ceremony in Dorne. Rhaegar. Which
Yeah.
may be why Sam didn't necessarily get it at the moment, but that was the moment that I paused my TV and just screamed.
Yeah,
But
so the
why would
whole
Sam-
premise for the war in the first place was a lie, which was
Yeah.
that Rhaegar kidnapped Lyanna Stark when it seemed like it was a consensual marriage at this point.
Which I think book readers have been suspecting. Question. Annulment, divorce?
Annulment.
It's like church divorce.
Yeah, so here's the
Church-sponsored
Annulment
divorce.
means the marriage
here's
never
the
existed.
thing.
No, I'm saying
Yeah, right.
I feel like
In
there
the-
isn't a precedent.
There isn't. In the books, for the faith, you actually can't get
You
an
can't get
annulment or a
annulment.
divorce. This is a show only thing so far. So, and it also, I mean, interestingly enough, they're both dead, so I guess it doesn't matter. But like the kid, that also means the kids of Rhaegar, like Elia and Aegon, are no longer. We're having
There's
a
like
warhammer?
a monster.
yeah.
There's a dragon
Hanging on
outside.
the
Gendry with a warhammer
Yes.
is behind us right now and trying to bust through this wall. So if that happens,
There's an actual giant that is about to bust through this wall and
like
Surprise.
1-1 with a blue eyes. Undead 1-1.
Oh, but it's your undead.
Oh,
It's
great.
really dangerous.
But yeah, so it's just, it doesn't matter at this point again because in theory the kids are dead. But yeah, it does mean that Jon is technically the only now legitimate heir
Yeah.
of the main chair. That's it. And is
Unless
no
you
longer. And now
validate-
Dany's not the last Targaryen.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is a world where might makes right, and Robert
Sure.
Baratheon overthrew the Targaryen
Yeah.
dynasty. It's like whoever's strong enough and people like
Yeah.
is the king. But yes, he does have a legit claim now.
And Dany still has the dragons.
A legit claim that and here's the thing, they are really ramping up that incest alert way high.
A lot of lingering looks.
I didn't give you permission to leave yet. There was a like they are on fire and they're not backing off from it at all, which makes me think, oh, it's not going to happen. They would not
that's
be
gonna
laying
happen.
on.
It's gonna happen.
They
Right?
would
It's
not be
definitely
laying
happening.
it on this thick if
We
they were
only
going to
have
actually.
like 8 episodes left.
They're gonna walk into some fire and walk out fully nude.
And make sweet love on the backs of dragons?
Yes.
Maybe. But maybe.
Especially designed saddle by Tyrion.
And I hope so. But what happens
The
when they
sex
find
saddle.
out they're
No,
related?
they ride bareback.
Oh God.
That's true.
What happens when they find out they're related?
Nothing.
I don't think it's gonna
It's not
matter.
gonna stop us.
Targaryens
Banging
have been
anyway.
married.
Yeah.
Targaryens have
Banging
been
on
marrying each
dragons.
other for centuries.
They're as distantly related as the British royal family. It's not like they're
Sure,
yeah.
they're like third or fourth cousins,
no,
right?
I mean,
No,
hell,
they're aunts.
their aunt
Aunts.
and nephew
Aunt and
is like
nephew.
safe for them. They've
Yeah.
been marrying brother and sister for ages. So
Yeah,
I
she's
don't think
his
it'll
aunt,
matter.
But I don't know, man. I'm curious.
So is she.
curious.
Toya wants to know how you guys think is John going to find out? And then if so,
Right.
how is John going to find out?
Yeah,
Bran's
it's
gonna
still
mumble
going to
it
be
at him.
Bran, or do we think? I mean, did Sam even take that book? I thought he gave that book to Little Sam and took it with him in the great
Yeah, they're gonna
kleptomania of like
That's
you know
all Sam does.
of
He
Old Town
steals
there.
shit and runs away in the dark of night.
Seriously,
he's got like his
though.
dad's
And
sword.
there's
He's got a bunch of books.
No
and he's just-
consequences whatsoever.
I feel like John's reaction to it being the rightful would just be like, oh, God damn it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to live, guys.
I was just trying to stay in a cave with a redhead. I
Here's
was
who you want to be
Here's
king
a
of.
question:
I don't
If
think he wants to be king.
John
No.
being brought back from the dead, can he still have a regular human baby? Does him being brought back from the dead, can he have a little zombie baby?
I do not
What are the
know.
rules of dead semen?
Well, they will rise. But I think that Dany's talking like she wants to abolish monarchy or something. At Dany's Endgame, she's still talking about breaking the wheel.
Breaking the wheel.
And if Marine's anything to be gleaned from, it's like I guess she just means like everybody runs the place.
Okay, that's a two-sided message, though, to be like, bend the knee or die.
Yeah.
My intent is to not have, like, a monarchy.
But she had that
you
line
know?
about like you need to basically like negotiate from strength. Like
Yeah.
I need to be strong so that I can bring about this
change.
ideal world that hasn't really been articulated
Yeah.
yet.
It is hard when she starts talking about breaking the wheel all the time, and yet, hey, all of you bow down and let's
Right.
do a Queen of the Seven Kingdoms like we've had for the last 300 years or whatever.
Yeah, but not
So-
for nothing. Idealism is real dangerous. Like, I mean, anything where you are not as dangerous as Cersei, but anything where you are stepping outside of the bounds and refusing to accept reality starts to get dangerous, right? Because then what? You know, you cannot look at things in black and white. You can't say, I'm going to create a paradise on earth. You're not. You're just not. Nobody is. We're human. We're flawed. It's going to be messed up and complicated. And so if you are refusing to accept a reality that does not fit in those parameters, that's dangerous.
Yeah, it'd just be weird because I can't imagine this ending in like a representative democracy, and
Right.
it's like game of votes.
Although,
Like the people aren't ready for it.
I have thought that for the last 7 years, that it's not necessarily a representative democracy, but that everything is so destroyed by the end of it. Then you've got like the wildlings and the people past the wall. None of that matters anymore. They have a different way of viewing. People say that they're behind Daenerys because they want to be. At a certain point, something like that might emerge.
It's just a question of whether everyone even makes it to the end, too. And Sam still has to pore over the books and find the secret to the long night and find this. Do you think he's
got a
going
lot
to
of
find
homework.
some secret to destroying the Whites and the White Walkers forever, as he's saying? Or is it just going to be them being beaten back again?
Oh, you should get this guy Jon Snow and this chick Daenerys. They should ride some dragons and burn them all.
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
I feel like he's gonna pull something out of his butt that's like, oh, the Night King's heart. You know, when it flashes red, you need to stab it at this angle or something like that.
It's like
Do the
setting your
countdown.
VCR timer.
Yeah, exactly. It'll just be like a countdown. Well,
Flash is 12.
I'd love to start taking calls from people, and you can always Skype in SJ Thrones Live and see what's going on with that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Wait, Lon has a thought too.
Interesting theory from Twitter
Yes.
at Miss Ava 88. Will we see Benjen again? Or the theory being, what if they find Benjen Stark and bring him to King's Landing?
I like that theory.
He might theoretically, can he survive south of the wall?
But what would he have been doing that whole time?
What
I guess
about
they would
the
have had to come
magics?
across him
could, yeah.
first before the army.
What about the magics in the wall?
That's another thing.
What about the magics?
In theory,
What
the
about
idea
it?
is the wall has stopped them this entire time,
Yeah.
so what's going to bring that thing down? It's all going to be Dolores Ed's fault.
Like when they break the magics enough. if
Tormund
they did
and
that,
Brienne
then-
having sex is going to bring down the wall.
Shatter the wall.
Definitely.
Oh god.
We also had some
The
good,
force of that orgasm.
Just melt.
some
But you
good
know
names.
what? Worth it. I feel
Definitely.
like worth it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's see what you guys think. Caller, who are you? Where are you from? Hi.
Hi, I'm Alex from Russia.
Hey, Alex.
Hello.
Oh wow.
What's going on?
Got a question?
Yeah, so what do you think the thing with Dragon? Jon touching him, so it's Jon, Daenerys. If not Tyrion, who will be the third Dragon Rider?
Well, first of all, what do you think? If it's not Tyrion.
I think it would be kind of cool if it's Jaime.
Oh,
Okay, that could be interesting.
I like that.
I don't know. I still like the idea of Tyrion riding the dragon and Bran warged dragon. Why
a Bran
not?
Warg dragon with Tyrion on top. That's pretty cool. Maybe the Hound.
The Hound, why not?
The one you'd last expect. I'm still rooting for him to be Azor Ahai reborn, and why not give him a dragon too?
Both.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
I
Alex, for
think
your call. By
Bran's
the way.
gonna warg a dragon.
You think Bran's gonna warg a
yeah,
dragon?
but that's another one that I just haven't let go of for many moons.
Yeah.
I'm like, the minute that you read you'll fly, you're like, you'll
Or
fly a dragon.
alternately, what if she loses one?
She
or
could,
two.
and then it could become that's another thing that could happen, that it could be her and Jon riding the dragons, and that the third dragon
could.
dies and becomes.
She could, if not
A
for the
nice
prophecy of the dragon has three heads.
heads, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I really thought there was a good chance we'd lose Drogon in the last battle.
Can
but
the dragons
don't think so.
can the dragons breed amongst themselves? Has that been established?
good
Are they all
point.
the same gender?
don't
Can
know.
we have incest dragons as well?
are gender fluid. Apparently, they
Them.
can
They're
change
non-binary
sex.
dragons.
They
Yeah.
are non-binary dragons. They can choose whatever bathroom they want to go into and
Lay an egg.
lay eggs, but they can change sex. Apparently, that's why in High Valyrian those gender pronouns don't really count, because they're after dragons, and dragons have no sex. Therefore, the personal pronouns
Well,
have
that
no
has
gender.
basis in reality because frogs can change gender.
Yeah.
so there's
Yeah,
none around.
exactly.
Well, that's
Cool.
cool.
Lizards.
All right. Well, thank you, Alex, very much for calling. Let me take one more, and then do we have time for trivia by combat, or are we? Nah, we're out. Sorry, sorry, we freaked out over dragons for just way too long. What can we do?
Also,
But
we might be making too much of prophecy in general.
That's
they were
possible.
kind of making fun of that at the Citadel.
Yeah.
That they were
Like,
making.
oh, remember the guy that thought, oh, remember? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The drowned god was going to wake up and stop everything. It's hilarious. Like, maybe we're making too much of prophecy.
Maybe
Yeah,
But
I
they
think
were
they're
also
all
making
Y2K
fun of
dragons.
the children.
They
which
were making fun of Jenny of Oldstones, who said she was a friend, an actual Children of the Forest descendant,
Right.
which she was a friend of the Woods Witch that made the prophecy about Cersei, I think, and that they came
cut.
across in the book.
Maggie the Frog.
Well, it was a different one, the Woods Witch. It might have also been Maggie the Frog, but it was two people who were descended from Children of the Forest, possibly. That's a whole book thing. Enjoy. I know. One more caller. Who are you, and what was your favorite moment? Hi.
Oh, wow. I'm Greg. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Hi,
Greg.
My favorite thing John touching the dragon is just amazing. I've been watching the show from the beginning. My thing is, if he does become the Dragon Rider, which everyone thinks he will be, what do you think of him riding his father's namesake dragon, Rhaegal?
I love that. I think you definitely have to have him riding Rhaegal, for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
You guys
That sounds like
agree?
an after-show title right there.
Riding Rhaegal.
Riding Rhaegal. I like it. I mean, because why not? If you're going to pick between the two dragons, if they put him on Viserion for no good reason, I'm going to be a little angry.
And Viserion is the one I feel like that's most likely to die because it's named after an asshole.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, yeah.
But then if Viserion dies and then becomes an ice or a white dragon, then could Bran warg that?
That's true.
don't know.
This
These
is
are
what I
questions
want.
I
Yeah,
have.
Tyrion's on one of the dragons, and then Bran wargs an ice dragon. That is what I want. Then maybe four heads, and it doesn't count. But I don't care. I want it anyway.
Cool.
Dragons.
They're your friends. Cool. Well, tell us what you guys think. Hashtag Watching Thrones. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us.
Thanks
this
for
was
having me.
awesome. Yeah,
Now
I know.
I'm going to be a devoted. Talking about this next week, I want to go back and watch them all over
I
again.
know,
Yeah.
it gets all excited. You forget how good like the old episodes are and the old season, and you hear about things and you see in the previously stuff that hasn't happened for seasons and seasons, and it's like, oh right, back when they didn't have an insane budget
It's a
and
really
a book to go off
different
of.
experience to binge the show than it is to watch it week to week. Because I feel like a lot of the pacing problems that I have go away when you're watching them all in a row. You're like, oh, finally an episode off. But this week, I'm like, give me more. Come on.
Well,
come on.
and watching it the way I've watched it in chunks over the course of seasons, you get to see how these characters have grown since the first season.
Yeah.
You might not notice it as much when you're watching it every week and pouring over it, but Jon Snow in particular, I'm like, wow, that he's had an amazing arc over the course of the show.
Definitely. Well, keep engaged. Use hashtag Watching Thrones. We will be here for the next 2 Mondays, and that's it, you guys. There's only 2 more episodes in this season. I'm Michele Boyd. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, all at Michele Boyd. Everyone, Spencer, where can they find you?
At Spencer J. Gilbert on all the things. Can I add my Raging Throner really quick?
Oh, God, I forgot about Raging Throners. Oh, no, I'm failing at life.
I'll just say really quick
Please.
was when Jorah shows up and the Dothraki's like, "Is this your friend?" And Danny's like, "Yes, this is my friend." I think that's a very deliberate choice of words there.
I like
appreciate
it. Wait, Roth, I have to know yours now, too.
I mean, it was Jon and the Dragon.
John petting
it
the
was
dragon.
It was just the moment, though, of blink. It was that entire sequence, including the discomfort of like, what'd you say? Oh no, it's beautiful. I love the dragon. That was my favorite. But then Davos, I think, was MVP.
Definitely. Mark, any particular moments stand out to you?
I liked when Sam accidentally found out Jon's true parentage and didn't know what he had. Because that makes me so frustrated as a viewer. I'm like,
That was like my anti-raging throner. Whatever like caused my throner to go back into my body, that was the moment because like I was so angry. I think mine was Davos being a total MVP on the beach and just like bargaining, and the fermented crab. The fermented crab was one of my and funnily enough, the cause of raging throners as well.
Yep.
Apparently.
Big
4
Twitter
hours or
question:
longer.
what would happen if
more crab.
Varys ate a little fermented crab? That's what Twitter wanted to know.
I also
I think
want
his
to know.
head just gets really red.
He transformed back into a merman immediately and crawl back into the ocean.
Is
That's
there
what
any
happens.
science around this fermented crab rumor? That's what I want to
God,
know.
go find out.
Tweet me at Roth
Everyone-
Cornet. I want to know.
And Mark, where can everyone find you?
on Twitter at Marc Andreyko, and then on Facebook.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys, everyone, for joining us again, and we will see you next Monday.
Thanks again to T-Mobile for sponsoring today's episode. Check out what makes them America's best unlimited network at T-Mobile.com/coverage.